Paul Bermeister, NBC Sports Network, Pro Football Talk co-host, former quarterback, and he was at the Combine over the weekend, was at the Combine some 20, how many years ago? 22 years ago?
Officially half my life ago, 22 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
How would you describe what it was like 22 years ago as a quarterback working out to now?
Right. Back then, it was this really unique combination of super excited and a little bit scared, because now NFL Network has done a very good job of lifting the curtain and letting everybody see what the Combine's all about. In 1994, you didn't really know what the Combine was about. You kind of walked in, you knew it was an awesome thing to be invited, but you didn't really know what was going to happen. Now it's no surprise. They're not doing anything differently. I think the template for the quarterbacks and receivers is exactly the same. I mean, really exactly the same 22 years later. It's just that now with the coverage, everybody knows what's going to happen.
The one drill where you can look at a quarterback now or 20 years ago and try to pinpoint some modicum of success.
I think on the field, it isn't so much one drill. It's the kind of thing where if you know quarterbacks and all these quarterback coaches and GMs, I mean, they know what they're looking for. You have to see the ball come out in person. It's kind of like going to watch a pitcher. You can watch him on TV and appreciate him, but until you're there to see the range of pitches and see how it comes out and that snap and that force, you don't really know. And it's the same thing with quarterbacks. So you can pick a short throw or a deep throw. You got to see it in person to see how it comes out with the RPMs and what it looks like when you're right there. I think more important than that, though, Dan, is the meeting with the coach and the impression that you give that coach or GM. I was talking to Doug Peterson, head coach of the Eagles, and I asked him basically the same question on Pro Football Talk. I'm like, give me one thing you're looking for. And he goes, I want to sit down with this guy in the 15 minutes I get, and I got to have the feeling that Jason Peters, a 34-year-old Pro Bowl tackle, is going to look at this kid and buy into it. I need that impression in my 15 minutes with him, and I think that's even more important than what they see on the field.
But can you believe what you're seeing in 15 minutes?
They're so well coached now, right? I mean, but also the GMs and coaches are well coached at cracking that because they know the agents tell them what's coming and they tell them what to say. So it's a 15-minute banter, a back and forth. Like, I'm going to break you. I'm going to get beneath this veneer of what you've been told to say and find out if I can go back to my building and say to the veterans, this is the guy you want. So it's kind of a contest a little bit, but I do think that the coaches that are good at it can get that kind of impression.
Give me the guy, though, that you saw the ball leave his hands and you go, okay, I get it.
Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz. I mean, there is a real buzz about this kid. Part of it's the story. I mean, he comes from North Dakota State, so everybody's like, no way a kid from North Dakota State can be a top 5 pick. But he went down to the Senior Bowl. Connor Cook should have gone to the Senior Bowl, and Carson Wentz went, and he passed all the tests. It didn't look too big for him. He fit right in. His coaching staff was the Dallas Cowboys with the 4th overall pick, so they spent a week with him. Keep that in mind. And he looked like he belonged there, and he showed up at the Combine and acted like he was the best quarterback there with everything he did. So I think he's the most impressive one.
But the competition level is still that gray area here with Carson Wentz. You go, okay, North Dakota State. Granted, they were great, but he said it doesn't matter. He said football's football. You get out there and you just you zip it around. Is that how he's going to be viewed? That, hey, we can take you out of North Dakota State, put you in the NFL, and you're going to be able to do what you did? Or have that same kind of mindset?
I think it's the first question that comes to mind for everybody, for a fan or for a GM. I mean, if you were that good, why were you at North Dakota State? But I think people are getting more of a comfort level with what he did at North Dakota State in terms of the responsibility he had with the protections and the kind of drops he had to do. They're more comfortable with him or getting there as opposed to Paxton Lynch, who played at Memphis, was never under center, looked over at the sideline to have every play called for him. I think at this point, I don't think I'm going out on a limb to say people are more comfortable with Carson's college background than they are with Paxton Lynch and his college background, just based off of what they were asked to do.
But Jared Goff, hands-on, like all of a sudden we're thinking, you had a great college career, and then you go to the Combine and somebody says he's slipping. Why? Hand size. Really?
I don't know if it's so much slipping as just in that moment, in that day at the Combine, that was a story. And to be honest, that is one of the things that people who really know, offensive coordinators, quarterback coaches, they care about that. I think they care about that for a quarterback more than they care about a 40-yard dash. So ultimately, I don't think it's going to knock him out of the top 5 or the top 10, but it is a legitimate concern that there's 18 quarterbacks there. Nobody had smaller hands than the one who might be the first overall quarterback.
Would you take Jared Goff as a top 10 pick? If you're a team that needs a quarterback and needs a quarterback now, today, You would.
Yes. I think I would. I'm leaning towards saying Carson Wentz would be the first one overall. Not the first overall pick, because Tennessee's not going to do that. But I think Wentz will be the first quarterback taken. But I do think that Jared Goff goes in the top 10. Good chance he goes in the top 5. You're looking at 37, I believe, college starts, and he was asked to do a lot of things, make a lot of reads that he'll be asked to do on Sunday. So the combination of 3 years of experience and the kind of solid tape and comfort level he shows in the pocket, I mean, there are people that think he's more ready to play right now than Carson Wentz is. So I don't see any way he gets out of the top 10.
It's Paul Bermeister from the NBC Sports Network and co-host of Pro Football Talk. Fritzy does a research sheet on you. Mm-hmm. And
does it say Iowa instead of Iowa State this time?
It says Iowa State.
Again?
Yeah.
No.
Second line.
Now, Dan, this is 2 years in a row.
Yeah, that's second line. What's it say?
Is this just reprinted from last year?
Yes, it was, apparently.
That's very weak.
Fritzy, where are you?
Remember we had the moment? It was embarrassing, and then we had to get an Iowa helmet sent in.
It was kind of funny the first
time. We grabbed
time.
a template from a while back, and that was a mistake again.
You can catch Paul every weekday at 6 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network, co-hosting Pro Football Talk with Mike Florio and Rodney Harrison, the Cyclone legend. Paul Bermeister here. I guess you embody an Iowa quarterback. We just not sure if it's Iowa or Iowa State.
It was Iowa City or Ames.
Yeah. Sorry about that. But Fritz, you have to understand that those two cities they don't like.
They do not. That's a major rivalry right there.
Yes.
You have bad aims, is what you do. That was a bad aims by see what I did right there. Okay.
Nice.
So we've established that you love Jared Goff.
I like both of them. I like Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. I would take Carson Wentz before, but okay. I like both.
Okay, but if you're looking at these quarterbacks now, I like to compare them to last year. Mm-hmm. And where would they be if I got Mariota and Winston? Are they still going 1-2 even with this year's crop?
I think Winston goes number 1 no matter what.
Okay.
With this group, I mean, so much physical talent. Teams they developed a comfort level with the off the field maturity questions. Yeah. He was so ready with the kind of things he was doing at the line of scrimmage at Florida State. I think that trumped some of the maturity questions. Marcus Mariota, remember this time last year, there were so many questions about whether he could get under center and he hadn't been in a huddle, those kind of things. Maybe a Carson Wentz would have gone by him, but I don't think there's maybe. There's a lot to like. I mean, it's the prototypical size, fantastic job at the Senior Bowl. So I think that would have been a horse race.
That you could see Carson Wentz going 2 if they were both in the same draft.
I think
Mariota would have been the third quarterback.
I think it would have been a real discussion, a real argument. Big questions about both of them.
Well, the one thing that I find, and I think it's still underrated, is a lot of these guys in college, you just look to the sidelines.
Yeah.
They give you a play, and that's it. So there's no adjusting for coverage. They're blocking schemes or any of that.
Right.
Carson Wentz did that at North Dakota State.
Absolutely, and that's why I made the point of talking about Paxton Lynch, even though he was at a bigger school at Memphis, and he's a bigger guy, may have a better arm. He did all of that in college. I mean, he did a terrific job with it, but it was all looking to the sideline. He didn't have to get under center. He didn't call a play in the huddle.
I know.
So I think those questions about him are bigger than the North Dakota State questions about Carson Wentz.
Connor Cook, Christian Hackenberg, these were the darlings out of the Big Ten. Are they second tier? Are they second day quarterbacks?
I think it's second round and on. I think Connor Cook has a chance for the first, but it feels to me it's more like a 3 quarterbacks in the first round. Paxton Lynch somewhere from 10 to 31, and then I think it's Connor Cook and all those guys coming to play in round 2 and after.
Connor Cook has an edge to him.
He does.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if you want that with your quarterback. You play the position. You talk to these coaches.
What kind of edge would be a bad edge, though?
Can you be cocky? Do you want cocky or confident?
You want either one if it plays out to where on the field you're physically and mentally tough and come through. I mean, you can do whatever you want leading up to it, but if it's, while the play is going on, while the game is going on, if you're a physically and mentally tough kid, you can be as cocky or as arrogant as you want as long as you're getting it done when it matters. So I don't know what side he comes down on. And he never struck me as too cocky or too arrogant.
He struck me as confident. Mm-hmm. But then the whole thing about getting the Big Ten trophy and how he treated Archie Griffin and people, that was a big thing that happened that weekend.
But for guys like you and me, because we know who Archie Griffin is, he might not have known Archie Griffin. He might not have recognized him.
But football guys, so it's not just us. These are football personnel people who are looking at that too. The fan might not know or care about it.
Right.
Football guys would look at it and go, here's Archie Griffin, 2-time Heisman Trophy champ, giving the Big Ten. And I did talk to Connor about that. He goes, so much was happening up there, and I think he said I didn't feel like I played well, and then I'm getting this trophy, and I'm like, all right, whatever.
Right.
So I don't know if that factors in with personality-wise where they're going, look at him.
I think that factors in as part of the narrative with Connor right now. I mean, it all plays to one of the headlines. He wasn't named a captain by his teammates.
Yeah,
I mean, and how does the quarterback?
Would that bother you?
Absolutely.
As a personnel guy, would you go?
I would have to gain comfort level with it. I would have to ask questions of him, of Mark D'Antonio. I would find other seniors on the team and ask what was going on. And there are answers that could give me that comfort level, but I wouldn't have it until I found out. I mean, how often does that happen? A 3-year starter quarterback is not your captain.
Can you make a comparison to Joey Bosa without using another white pass rusher?
Joey Bosa compared to somebody who is...
So J.J. Watt, Jared Allen, Kyle Vander Bosch. Is there anybody...
Is there anyone?
Ryan Kerrigan.
I'm just running through all the top pass rushers in my mind. I mean, no one's being compared to Von Miller right now because Von was that good. I would have to run through it. And to be honest, I think guys like Mike Mayock and Todd McShay, I think they spend time now, and I don't know this for a fact, but they probably spend time leading up to the combine coming up with those names just to be sure because they know people are looking for things.
I'm waiting for it. It's
oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're going, okay, here comes the J.J. Watt. Yeah, and you know who he reminds me of, Rich? He reminds me of J.J. Watt.
You should call Mike at some point in the next couple of weeks. I bet he has 2 or 3 for you.
He better.
Maybe 4 or 5. Yeah.
Paul Bermeister, he did not go to Iowa State. He went to Iowa, and you can see him Monday through Friday at 6 Eastern on the NBC Sports Network. Pro Football Talk with Mike Florio and Rodney Harrison. Thanks for coming in. Great to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Paul.